We'll go ahead and call the Monday, May 23rd, 2011 Public Safety Committee to order. And if the committee will indulge me, if y'all would, I'd like to ask Commissioner Schaefer, since Roger Allen, our director of EMA, has had surgery this week, I'd like for, if you would, say a little prayer for Roger tonight, please.
Okay. Let us bow our heads. And dear Father, we just thank you for the blessings that you give all of us. And Lord, we also receive the trials and tribulations that we often don't understand. But Lord, we know that all works for good to those that love you. And Lord, at this time, we just lift up our friend and colleague, Roger Allen. We lift him up to you. And we just ask you to put your healing touch on him. For you are the great healer. In your Son, you have given us the healing of everything possible. And we ask you now, dear Jesus, to just touch our friend, Roger Allen, and bring him back whole to each one of us, and let him just return to his normal life. We ask you for all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. What I'd like to do also, since there's a presentation on the bicycle committee, I'd like to go ahead and bring that to the forefront. Before we do that, I need to get a motion for the minutes of last month. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. You want to go ahead and start the video?
All in favor?
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion has carried.
Here in Middle Tennessee, cycling is a fun way to get out and enjoy the great outdoors. It's good exercise, it's fun, and it's a good way to get around town. But remember, a bicycle is considered a vehicle, and it's important that you understand the rules of the road that cyclists must follow by law. Just like being in a car, you must make sure that your bicycle and equipment are operating properly before you ride. Having the proper equipment and practicing safe riding habits can make your ride more enjoyable and safer for you and those sharing the road with you. Let's take a few minutes to cover some very basic safe riding habits that anyone can use. Okay, before you get started, you need to put your helmet on. All riders age 16 and under are required to wear a helmet at all times, and it is highly recommended that all riders have a properly fitted helmet. If you're purchasing a helmet, it's very important to get the right size and also to make sure it fits snugly on your head. Once you've gotten the right size helmet, you need to check the position of the helmet. Make sure the helmet is setting level on your head and low on your forehead, 1 or 2 finger widths above your eyebrow. Next, center the left buckle under your chin and adjust the slider on both straps to form a V shape under the ears. Buckle your strap and check to make sure that no more than 1 or 2 fingers can fit under the strap. Okay, if you follow those guidelines, you should have a properly fitted helmet that shouldn't move around when you move your head, but should be snug and comfortable to wear. The next thing you need to check for is the fit of your bicycle. Stand over your bike and check the clearance between the top 2 bar of the bicycle and your body. For a road bike, you will need 1 to 2 inches of clearance, and for a mountain bike, you'll need 3 to 4 inches of clearance. The seat height should be adjusted to allow a slight bend in your knees when your legs are fully extended on the pedal. After your bicycle has been properly fitted, check your equipment. Be sure to do the ABC quick check. A is for air. Make sure tires are inflated properly to the manufacturer's specifications, which you'll find printed on the side of the tire. B is for brakes. Check to make sure that your brakes are engaged and there is no more than a thumb's width between the handlebar and the brake handle when the brakes are compressed. C is for chain. Check your chain to see that it is on the cassette and make sure there isn't anything loose on your bike that could cause an accident. Finally, quick is for the quick release. Be sure that the quick release levers on your wheels are closed snugly and the levers point up or back, never towards the front of the bicycle. Getting close, but you're not quite ready to ride just yet. Look at what you're wearing. Does it grab your attention? If not, it's time to go change and wear something that gets you noticed. Bright or reflective clothing will get people's attention and will let them know that you're there. And if you ride at night, remember the law says you need a front white light and a reflector or a red light on the back of your bicycle. Okay, now we're ready. Let's go have some fun. Once you start riding, the first thing to remember is to control your bicycle. Keep one hand on the handlebars at all times and keep items in a carrier or a backpack. Obey the rules of the road, which means you must obey traffic signs and signals if you are driving a car. Remember to ride with traffic, not against it. By law, a rider should stay as far to the right in the travel lane as practicable, allowing a few feet between the white edge line and the rider. This allows you to avoid debris in the roadway, obstacles like sewer grates, or to avoid doors opening for parked cars. A bicycle is considered by law as a vehicle, and you have the right to ride in the travel lane. If the travel lane is not wide enough for a car and the bicycle to safely share the lane with at least 3 feet between the car and the cyclist and a few feet between the cyclist and the edge of the roadway, then the cyclist has the legal right to take the lane or ride in the middle of the travel lane. Positioning yourself in the middle of the lane makes you more visible to cars and should be used when there are sharp curves, hills, or other circumstances with limited sight distances. Return to the right side of the lane when it is safe to do so. By law, when vehicles are passing, they must leave at least a 3-foot gap between the vehicle and the cyclist. In many cases, the safest way for a car to pass a cyclist is to get in the left travel lane just as a car would pass another slow-moving vehicle. By not riding on the edge line, you are helping to claim your space on the roadway and make it less tempting for a car to pass you in your lane of travel. Watch for road hazards. If you're riding in a group, alert the riders behind you of a potential hazard. Be predictable and ride in a straight line. Signal your moves to others and always look before turning. Signal a left turn by straightening your left arm. A right turn may be signaled by making an L shape with the left arm or by straightening the right arm. A stop is signaled with a downward open palm face back towards the drivers behind the cyclist. Riding in groups can be fun, but remember that by law, riders should ride no more than 2 abreast, and the recommended practice is to ride single file. If you're out enjoying a greenway, remember to ride on the right and pass on the left, just as you would on the street. Announce to other users that you will be passing. And lastly, be safe and have fun. Remember, these safety tips are for you. If you would like more information on bike safety, please visit the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration website at www.nhtsa.gov.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, come on up.
Thank you. This is the product of, if you guys remember, a little over a year ago, you asked us to put together a bicycle safety subcommittee of your committee based on some concerns about bicycles and education in the community. And this is the first big thing that we've accomplished through our committee. We're really proud of it. We think it's a good video. It's going to be shown, or should already be shown on Channel 19. For folks, we're also making the video available to organizations such as Greenhouse Ministries, which has a recycle program where they give bikes to folks who need transportation, but we're asking them to let them watch this video first so that they be sure and understand what the rules of the roads are and how to check their bicycles. This goes hand in hand with, if you remember the last time I was here, we showed you the form that we have people fill out that are doing organized rides throughout the county. We know now that 3 different groups have used that form. It's been very successful. And I participated in one of those rides this weekend, and in the packet of information that they gave out, it had the bicycle safety tips in the flyer that we put together that you guys approved back in the fall. So we're really excited about the progress we're making. We're working on another little flyer with the Metropolitan Planning Organization, for which we're members of through Davidson County. That has, it's a little handout that'll have the rules of the road for the bicyclist and for the motorist, and we're hoping to distribute it through several different ways. Ideas that we have is maybe put it out in a Sunday D&J, maybe put it in the electric bill or the phone bill or something like that, ways to get it out. And just a couple of weeks ago, Mayor Burgess signed a proclamation that May is National Bike Safety Month. And I think also the city mayor did the same. I haven't had a chance to go by and pick it up. We didn't do a really good job of publicizing that, and I take responsibility for that. Just had too much stuff on my plate this year, but I have plans to make this a bigger deal. One of the things that we did do in May to bring awareness about bike safety is we participated in the Ride of Silence, which was last Wednesday night. I think about 25 cyclists showed up here at the courthouse and rode about 6 miles with police escort in single file in silence to honor those that had been bicyclists who've been hit by motorists or killed by motorists in the region. So slow progress, but we're making progress. We're getting the word out. We're getting people educated, and I think we're having a lot of success.
One of the things that we did for last week was National EMS Week, and one of the I have an event every year, and one of the things that we do there is hold a bike rodeo for kids to come over and participate in, so that they can learn the safety rules of the road. You know, make sure that they're wearing helmets. If they don't have a helmet, we can give them a helmet. We set up a little road course for them to teach them how to properly stop at stop signs and hand signals and things like that. So the kids really have a lot of fun with the help of Greenhouse Ministries, who allowed us to use some of their bicycles. We actually had bicycles there that they could use, so you didn't even have to worry about bringing your own bike, and we had helmets there that we could use as well. So that was just another way of getting out to the public and teaching kids and adults alike about bicycle safety.
We hope that's the direction you're wanting us to continue heading in, and that we still have your blessings to keep working. I think we're making a difference.
I think from what I've seen and some, when you come to the meetings and stuff, it's going in the direction that we thought it would go, and it's getting education out there to the public.
Is it possible that this video can go to the 3 cities so they can show it on their Channel 3?
Sure.
Yes,
And,
yes,
well,
absolutely.
I know I live up in Laverne, and we've got some drop-off roads just like the county does, and there's one that's very crowded to come out of in the mornings, and there's this one guy. Haven't helped him, but he comes out, and there's tons of cars, and you know, and this will help make people aware,
Right.
because coming down, there's cars going both ways, school buses and all this, and narrow road in parts, and so
We can ask Lee to offer it to the other, I think they all have a working relationship, but we can, Lee Harris produced this with us, and we can ask him to offer it up to the other
What
places.
about getting it out to the school system?
That's on our,
They've got
that's our
those
plan.
closed circuit TVs.
We're
Yeah.
gonna work through with the
Mhm.
SROs and get them to offer it through their, each one of them have to teach a class, and we were hoping maybe they could use that in one of their classes. But yeah, the closed circuit TV would be a great thing as well. We also want to offer it to other organizations like the Recycle Program, people that are giving bikes away to folks, Cub Scouts, anybody that's got an interest in teaching bike safety, we want to offer that video up to them. It's actually out on YouTube, so we can send people the link. They don't have to have a DVD. It's on the Rutherford County Government TV YouTube channel. So you can pull it up and send it out to all your friends and put it on Facebook, do whatever, show it.
I have a meeting with
We've been-
Murfreesboro City Schools on Wednesday with their health wellness committee that I'm on. So I'll make that presentation to them too, so that they can show it for their kids as well.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? All right.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
support. We really
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
it. Just an information thing, I know tonight's, I think your last night for public safety, and we're gonna miss you, so
Thank you.
appreciate all the work you've done for us.
Talk fast.
OSHA report. I think you got it on the desk.
No bicycle accidents?
No.
Good
But,
job.
we're doing good on that part. We don't have many bicycles. I think the bicycle riders are the city police. I think they have officers on bikes.
EMS has got them.
Sheriff's
Yeah.
Department.
Do they?
Sheriff's
Oh, I-
Department's got
I
a
didn't
couple.
realize EMS had bicycles. Oh, I learned something new tonight. I have to touch base with you on that too.
Paramedics.
Oh, okay, yes. Okay. You do have the report in front of you. In the month of April, we had a total of 22 injuries requiring medical attention. You can see the breakout there. For the year-to-date, we've had a total of 95. Of those 95, 57 of them were recordable under the OSHA guidelines. 24 of them had restricted days for a total of 398 days restricted. Lost claim days total 10 for 152 days lost, and then 23 for all others. On the next page, you'll see the what that looks like over the last 2 years and this year to date. And remember last week we talked about changing out the report. I did put a copy in everybody's box, and I brought that forward into this report. And next page you'll see the 22 total claims. Total net dollars incurred for those are $56,467. Then when you look at that, County General breaks out for a total of 11 claims, and the net dollars on that is $42,967. The Sheriff's Department had a total of 5 injuries, and the total incurred that is a little over $36,000.
We got 4 here.
I'm sorry, 4 and 1 is 5. Did I say?
You said 5.
Okay, yeah, the one on the bottom. I'm still having a problem. The database is
Okay.
still breaking them out, and I'm putting them together on one page to kind of do that. So 4 and 1 is 5. And then Paul's had 2 injuries. The ambulance service had 2 injuries. Juvenile detention had 1. The correctional work center had 1. And that brings up the total for the County General. On the Board of Education, there was a total of 10 claims, and the net dollars on that is $12,900. And you can see the breakdown for the total of that 10 on the next page. That's how they broke down type of injury. And the Highway Department had 1 injury in the month, and that was a total of $600 net incurred.
Any questions? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second, all in favor of the motion say aye. All opposed, motion carries. All right,
Nothing else? Thank you very much. Y'all have a good evening.
2, ambulance service
Good luck
report.
to you in your future.
Thank you.
We're going the wrong direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who did I miss?
Whenever you're ready.
We made 1,867 calls last month. Response time was 7.2 minutes. There's 35 DOAs and 12 autopsies. The total billed was $1,131,359. The ambulance service is still collecting old accounts. We collected $100,721, and the Mars Collections collected $386,437 for a total collection of $487,158. That puts us at year-to-date of $4.7 million and on a projection of 5.6. We had 333,479 insurance write-offs, 64,006 in collection agency write-offs, and on county matters, $790. Table at the bottom of the page is the breakdown on operating costs and mileage and so forth. We drove a total of 37,667 miles, and significant repairs are included there as well. We had 7 different in-services and training. Pedal Medics had a bicycle safety meeting. The TOPS team did a couple of things, and our REACT team had 20 events this past month. And the SORT team listed 6 things in there. Back of that page is the new way that we're keeping up with ambulance calls. Since the ambulance is responding to different districts from time to time, we felt like this was the best way to do it. And as you can see, the MTSU station, besides having a lot of calls, has 2 things going against it. One of them is that they are back up to Burton Street, which is busy, and the second one is they have a very large zone. So that necessitates Manchester Road being pulled into their zone a lot, as you can see.
Mike, I want to go back on something here. I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. On the SORT teams page there, responding to the Bradley County for the tornado devastation, I wanted to let you know that I had spoken to the fire chief of Bradley County, and they spoke very highly of the SORT team, the response, the professionalism that they, when they were there, and the capabilities of them. And I just want to pass that along to you and the public and let you know that they did a good job, and they really appreciate their efforts up there, and they were a big help.
And thank you. We were sent there by Kinder, so that'll be reimbursed at some point.
Right.
The next page is number of calls broken down by commissioner districts. And the back of that page is year-to-date on the same information. And I had a letter and a certificate from the National Transportation Safety Board that had to do with that plane crash in Smyrna.
The price on autopsies went up from $1,550 to $1,600. They just do that in the middle of the year now, or something?
I think they kind of do it whenever they want to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, there's been lots of talk about the amount of money that the county's spending for autopsies, and I think the bottom line is that 2 things have happened. One of them is that we do more autopsies now than we used to. And secondly, the price has more than doubled recently. When Dr. Harlan's lab went out of business in Nashville, the price doubled.
And Mike, on the very first page, where it has all the mileage and unit numbers and miles driven and all that, is there any way we could get like a column that says what station those go to, so we can kind of see where the units are, kind of help us? Because I know y'all have your unit number for that piece of equipment, but it's just kind of hard to relate what unit is at what station or something, just so we can, you know, kind of give us a better idea, because I know you got a lot of high mileage vehicles. And
yeah, we can do that. Each station has one basic truck, and then they have a reserve usually. And from time to time, the reserves get switched around, but we can get close.
yeah, I just, you know, I know those mileages are getting high, and it's kind of help out to see which ones are reserved versus which ones are the front line, you know.
I can do that.
So,
Any more questions? If there's no questions on the report, I entertain a motion on the report.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. Now I think you got a budget amendment.
Ready for that?
Go ahead.
We have actually 2 things on this budget amendment. One of them is that we need to add $17,000 to our refund account. Typically, we add money to that because it's actually kind of a good thing, because that means we got paid twice for it. But this represents something else too. Cigna overpaid us by $12,000. And rather than just letting them recoup it, I think it'd be best if we just went ahead and paid it back. So that's what that $17,000 represents. And the correct way to handle that budget transfer is to increase the charges and increase the refunds as well. We also need to put $20,000 into overtime pay. We have a vacant position of supervisor and director. That's actually at the communications dispatch area. And we can take that $20,000 from there rather than take it out of fund balance. The reason that this overtime account is overdrawn, it's not overdrawn, but the reason it will be overdrawn is because of our special events. You'll notice that we haven't moved any money that we've received from special events this year. And so far, we've collected $77,345.67. And that's just in the fund balance. But that's why we've overdrawn this account.
You've heard the request from Mike. Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, discussion.
Mark, why are we adding to both sides of this account?
That's what the finance office tells me to do it that way.
Maybe she can explain that when we get there.
Well, you got paid for it initially, now it's going into account for refunds. So that's a positive account too, and then after they pay it out of there.
Anybody else? Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo? Yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. That it? Thank you. Paul's report. How you doing tonight?
It's been one of those days, but we'll make her. Oh, yeah.
Doing good, doing good.
Have our April report already on the desk for you. For the month of April, we took in 521 total animals. You can see of the animals that we impounded, 25 were from the county, 10 from the city of Laverne, 47 from the city of Murfreesboro, and 18% from the town of Smyrna. You can see that we had 504 animals go back out, and you can see down there the adoption and the euthanasia rates at the bottom. Animals left in the shelter, that should be at the end of April, that's my mistake there, was 163. And then 1,942 people visited the shelter looking for a lost or new pet during the month of April. On the second page, you can see the activity report by jurisdiction. You can see that we had 1,166 calls that were received at the shelter and 1,158 calls that were completed, and the breakdown of the calls as well. And also the officers and staff had traveled 9,770 miles during the month of April.
Are you normally addressing the call? I mean, are you getting all these calls the same day? Somebody calls and say, hey, I've got a neighbor's dog in my backyard scaring my kids or something like that, or somebody complains they're walking the street and some dog runs out at them. Is that happening on the same day? Or
They're assigned a priority when they come in from a 1 to a 5. Actually, it goes to a 6, but we very rarely use a 6. Your priority 5 calls are going to be your lowest priority, which are going to be your stray roams. The dog was here, we're seeing it back and forth in the other. A 4 is going to be a call that needs to be run today. Call that's a priority 3 is going to be an assist police, investigate a bite, investigate neglect, stray aggressives can be 3s. 2s and 1s, I think we've had 1 priority 1 since the time I've been there. I don't recall what it was, but those are going to be, the human is in immediate danger, the dog's attacking them right now, those type things. Your 3s and 4s, your 3s are run same day, your 4s, we try to get every one of those that we can same day, and then your 5s get put off until we have officers available.
so if you've got somebody in the subdivision, they're doing their afternoon walk, and you got a neighbor's dog that comes out and tries to attack them, you're going to go then? That's a 3?
It's going to be a 3 or a 4 depending on what went on. If the dog left the property, the dog actually bit them, yes. If they're back home, they're out of the immediate danger, it's probably going to go to a 4. Just a lot of different variables have to go into assigning the priority.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. On the third page, this is going to be starting the fiscal year to date. We've taken in 6,502 animals. You can see the breakdown of that there. And then we had 6,498 that have gone back out. We've had 21,917 people that have visited the shelter since July the 1st looking for a lost or new pet. On the fourth page there, you can see that we had 12,096 calls received and 12,176 calls that were completed. Some of those calls are ones that were started at the end of June or whatnot that were completed in this fiscal year. So that's
a
number.
year to date, right?
That is year to date, yes, sir.
And calls can be anything, really big.
It would be calls that are actually entered into the system for someone to have to go out. Just a simple phone call for requesting information or whatnot would not be entered into the system as a call.
So this is the call with the problem, is what you're saying.
That somebody had to respond to or put something in the system to provide some type of service. If you just called wanting information on a particular animal to adopt, or you wanted to know our hours or our surrender information and all of that would not be included in those calls. It would be in addition to that.
If someone wanted to call you and to make a complaint or a question, what's the number they should call?
It's 898-7740 is the office number.
Did you read the News Journal the other day that there was an editorial in there?
I saw part, I read part of it, but I was about half asleep.
Not an editorial, but a letter to the editor.
Yeah, we spoke about that. I think they were complaining about an issue that occurred in January, was that correct?
I think it was.
All right, I don't remember the details.
Mr. Gregory's gonna follow up, and he's gonna give us a concise briefing on how it can go. I think we've had that before, maybe a couple of years ago, but it's.
He had asked for me to bring back information for next month's meeting, and we can discuss some more of those in detail.
Well, while we're on that topic.
Sure.
I've had a request from a citizen about our local leash laws, which are basically the state leash laws. And the way I understand it is any animal, dog or cat, is required to be on a leash if they're not enclosed in a fence. Is that correct?
I would need to go back and review our ordinance more in detail here. In your cities, yes, that is the case. I'm unsure on your county part, but I believe that it does. I've read through the ordinance, but it's been a little bit. I don't have a copy in front of me.
Would you bring that next
Sure,
month?
no problem. I can get one out into the mail if you'd like it sooner than that.
Thank you.
Something else I'd like for you to do. I've had phone calls on pit bulls.
Yes, sir.
About our dangerous dogs. Is there anything that we can look at on that?
You have in your ordinance regarding potentially dangerous dogs and dangerous dogs. And we've got probably, I guess, 3 or 4 cases going now. We just met this afternoon with the county attorney on one that's going to be going up next week. So we're constantly having cases regarding that.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the total intake of 6,502, I guess the bulk of that is dogs and cats being brought in or captured. That seems high. Is that number high to you? Is it getting better throughout the years, or?
I don't know the trend statistically. I think that is a little bit lower than where we were last year at this time. To tell you where I came from Bedford County to where we were servicing about 25,000 people, and we were taking anywhere from 1,500 to 1,900 a year in. And here you're dealing with what I think we're 265 now, the latest census, and we're at 6,500. So I think y'all got a much better problem, or much better situation, handling the problem than.
Yeah, we invest a lot of money to keep these numbers down, and I was just wondering how what the trend is.
I don't know what the trend is, but I can sure get that for you.
Okay.
I can go back. Tracy set me up a file when she left that has the previous year's reports, and I can see how we're trending and go from there.
Okay. And also, if you do that, if you could do like the trend on the outcome as far as euthanasia and adoption.
Okay. I sure can. Won't be a problem. On the 4th page there, you can see the calls received and calls completed for the year, and then we've traveled almost 106,000 miles for this fiscal year. The 5th page of your report is the rabies exposure and bite report for the month. We've had 49 bites that were reported. Out of those, 13 of those animals were sent off for testing. And the other exposure, you can see that we had 4, and 3 of those were sent off for testing. We did not have any positive outcomes for rabies this month. And of course, we've just had the 1 year to date on the skunk that I discussed at last month's meeting. You want me to proceed?
Is there any questions on the report?
I've got one question. When's the last time humans contracted rabies? I heard something that was a long time ago, I just didn't know, I'm not an expert on it.
This, in the state of Tennessee, just pulling from recollection, I want to say that we had one in Franklin County, but that's been 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know, if there's been any more recent within the country. I'm sure there probably has been by far, but I just don't know when that would have been or where.
Anybody got any questions on the report? Hearing or seeing none, entertain a motion on the report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Got a budget amendment?
Yes, sir. It seems like we're having to do this every month, and I'm hoping this is going to take us through the end of the year. I'm asking to decrease our attendant line item $5,000 and take our other salary and wage line item and decrease it by $7,000 to move $12,000 over into overtime. The reason that we're doing this, since I've been here, there has been turnover within the department. We're having to pay out some of these folks that have accumulated some of their time as they leave. And then also being short-staffed, we're having to keep some of the officers on the road longer, so we need to get them to be able to pay them, as well as there was a lapse between the time that I came on and Tracy left, so the supervisors had to cover that gap. And with me being new, there's some overtime issues there. We want to be able to try to use some of this money. The supervisors have maxed out their comp accounts, so we're having to pay them overtime every week. We'd like to be able to, at the end of the budget year, to buy back some of that time, so we don't continue bleeding out this problem. We can try to nip it and take care of it.
You've heard the request. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Discussion. How many vacancies have you got now?
I just filled one last week, and I think I've got 3 officer positions right now. Out of our current officers that are trained, I think we have 5, and one of those is retiring within the next month. So we're bringing on new folks, but it takes time to get them trained to get them out. So it's
16 people.
we have 12 officer positions. So we're doing everything that we can to try to get folks in there and keep going. The officers that I have are working very, very hard and really picking up the slack. I couldn't be more proud of them.
All right. Anybody have any questions on the motion on the floor? Call roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you. Correctional Work Center report. How's it going tonight? Doing good. I think you.
You should have a copy. If you don't, you got another one. Okay. The first page is the yearly activity report. Top of the page reflects a monthly census, which has really jumped since April. We've been averaging about 195 in the past month or so, so that we're doing pretty good there. Incident reports, they've been down. Disciplinary, still about the same, but we've gotten way better from the past. The programs, religious programs are going great. We just added a couple of new ones.
Is that what you think's causing the incident reports to go down, or some of these programs, or?
Definitely. To keep them active, with idle time, and plus, I think you gotta put faith first and help them get to the other issues, and it's not just faith-based programs. We also offer GED, which that program is going great. Other issues dealing with families, and we have a parenting class, so those things really help break down the repeat offender rate.
You got, just so people know, you got 100 less incidents in a month's time than you did last August. So, I mean, that's phenomenal.
Right. It's been, a testament to, like I said, these programs and, better training for the staff also.
When was the last time you had people taking the GED testing, or how often do you do it? Maybe that's a better way to put it.
We
Every 3
average
months,
approximately every 3 months. They just had one, it was maybe a little bit over a month and a half ago was the last GD testing they did.
And roughly 20 take it at a time or something like that?
For us, I think that class, we had maybe 10 to 12.
10.
Right, and we try to incorporate with the sheriff's department, we do it all together, so, and they had, I'm not at 20-something in that class, so it was a pretty good class.
The ones that take the test, do you have a decent percentage passing it? I mean,
Yeah, I would say
3 out of 4?
about 70%, 75%, they were pretty good. And out of that group, matter of fact, Mr. Rodney Haynes, who works for the adult ed, he does a great job with this. He works with us and the sheriff's department. He was compiling a presentation for the Tennessee Correction Institute, and he's trying to get those numbers together. And we realize that a lot of these graduates are not returning on a frequent basis. So it really does help.
I got a question. Is there any way, and I don't know if it's even possible, is there any way you can figure out the repeat offenders that come back through the work center versus, you know, kind of, I don't know if that's possible to track or just to kind of see, you know.
When you can do it, what you got to do is set up a system to catch that as a return. And usually it'll take a 2 to 3 year period to kind of monitor, you know, to get you a good figure, you know, to do some kind of pie chart that you can see. But like I said, with these programs, we've noticed in that they really are helping out. With, you know, and plus not only, you know, repeat offenders coming in, but also the attitudes of them while they're in there, like you said, about the disciplinary reports and the incident reports going down so much. So it helps out a lot. The DUIs, that's picked up since April because, you know, April was that bad weather time, so that number dipped from March, but that it'll definitely go up between now and probably the fall. Other than that, that's pretty much it for that page. Unless there's any questions?
Yeah, question. Are DUIs, when you have them out there picking up the trash on the roads, does their uniform say that I am a drunk driver?
I'm a drunk driver, yes. The vest has to say that.
The state requires that.
Right, we had, some of them got faded out in the past since, I think we purchased them last fall. And between then and now, so we had to put some new, we just, last by Captain Cobus was working on that, putting some, I am a drunk driver on some new vests, so we had a constituent call in about that, so we made sure we addressed that matter.
And we're still breaking even on that? And, you know, with the fees that they have to pay us?
Right.
No, that we're not losing money to, because when it first came out, they stuck everything, the state stuck everything on the counties, and it was costing us some the first year, and then they changed.
Right, they actually pay when they come in, so it's one of those pay-as-you-go things, so, yeah, that's working out pretty good. The third page is the monthly worker crew report. Pretty much reflects for the month of April. The total on the bottom is the grand figure of what these inmate labor crews saved the county, $136,448 for the month of April. Next page is the state litter pickup, and that's February, and this one, the state owes us $3368.44. And March is $2380.32. And April 1979, once again, April dipped due to the weather issues we had with that spring, the changing of the weather. And the last part, the minutes from the last board meeting. The amendment that was addressed at the last public safety that went through already. Appreciate that. Southern Health Partners, most of the contracts that we have as far as food service and medical and inmate phones, those contracts, you know, they come up yearly because we do yearly contracts. So pretty much that's what it was addressed at the last board meeting.
Any questions on the report? If there's no questions on the report, we entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Oh, you got? Thank you. County Fire and Rescue Department. How's it going tonight?
First page, just kind of overall report of some of the things that went on last month. One thing I will point out, down about May 15th to the 19th, I spent 3 days with Ted Lindsay, and he and I went all across the entire county, visiting every county fire station and inspecting all the county fire apparatus and equipment that the county has paid for and lets them utilize. We've also visited Smyrna, Laverne, and Murfreesboro fire departments and inventoried all their equipment that's been bought. Their, of course, their truck, their air packs, SCBA, and the gas-powered fan, and the generator we provided, and everything was accounted for. Second page is of course, the MVA reports, and the response time this month is down to 6.9 minutes for the overall average response of the rescue trucks. And then
These trucks are only now, what, a petrol and, where's it?
we got one in Kittrell, Allenville. Of course, Station 1, Station 2 have one, and then Walter Hill has dropped out, but I've got a letter in here from the chief. But I think what's happening, they're not actually manning the truck, but anytime we have an MVA, the rescue zones are split into 5 different zones. Now they're split into 4. But if a call comes out in Walter Hill's area where their fire truck responds, they're also responding to the rescue truck. And if they get there before the rescue truck is paged out, they start extrication, and if they get things under control, they'll cancel that responding truck. But they're not actually sitting there at the station. But he's still responding to his truck.
Either you on or you off.
Well, I mean, we're not paying for his fuel or anything anymore, so, I mean, it's his, it's his equipment, his truck, and if he wants to, which is still providing a service to the county, he's still getting there in a timely fashion, and it may be saving Kittrell or Allenville from making that long trip.
At 1:32 a.m., they had a 4-minute response. That's pretty impressive for not being manned.
What day was that?
And that was 5:20.
Yeah, that's just right down the road from their station, so, but it makes a difference.
So, what, rescue truck 15's associated with that?
Allenville. Rescue 15 is Allenville. Rescue 17 is Kittrell.
Okay. Yeah.
Rescue 7 is Rutherford Station 1.
Okay.
And Rescue 41 is Station 2.
Okay.
And of course, Rescue 21 is Walter Hill.
What was the response time last month average?
It was up to about 7.8, I think. We were averaging about 7.5, and it went up. Of course, there's times when you have calls that are out there on the county line, or if you have a lot of few calls on the interstate that are out there toward Coffee County, you use the response time about 12, 13 minutes. If you have, like you have one out in Eagleville, toward the Bedford County line or the Marshall County line, or wherever, Chapel Hill out in there, your response time is a little bit longer.
And the response time again was, what did you say it was?
6.9.
6.9 is down at the bottom of the page.
Yeah. You compare that to our ambulance service, theirs was 7.2 this month.
And that's, of course, that's just 4 trucks now.
Yeah.
Next page is just report on departmental training hours, water usage, and the MBAs with extrications. Mutual aid calls, just pretty much a rundown of the county, all county departments. Next page is something I've kind of added that we have to turn into the codes department, and it's actual structure fires. I did notice one typo that was made on the 12th of April, Jupiter Drive. 25 was, District 25 was the last cases. They were actually on that fire, but that fire was in District 21, Walt Hills area. So that would be, that was actually their main response.
Quick question. It seems like, and I might be wrong about this, but it seems like every month 31 doesn't turn in a report by the due date. Is that, am I right on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there, are we addressing the issue because?
Well, we call them and ask them for the report, and they've also are supposed to be reporting their Tennessee Fire Incident Reporting System, and according to TFERS, they're not doing that either, and that's state law.
I just want to make sure that the residents out in Christiana have fire protection. I mean, are we getting the fires and the calls covered, or?
Well, if they're being covered, they have a serious manpower issue out there, and we tried to help them out. We got dispatched that if they have a fire in Christiana, like I say, they have a manpower issue, and what I told dispatch, if they have a fire call out there, wherever it's at in their district, or if it's close to Fossville, or Rutherford County Station 3, or Rutherford County Station 1, to go ahead and page that department out with
Okay,
them,
good.
run with them.
So we're covering it?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not an issue of, okay.
And they have a response, but like I say, their manpower is very limited.
Is there anything we can do to kind of try and help out and get them the help that they need?
Well, I've offered.
Okay.
Is it falling on deaf ears?
I've offered. The next page is a storm response. I kind of asked all the volunteer fire departments to give me a report when we had the storm in April. A lot of the departments were out. I kind of coordinated this response, and the biggest part of the damage of what I've received was from our department, which was heavy damage out on Rooker Lane, Calvary Court, Windrow Road out in there. And then Last Cass had quite a few trees down. And I kind of give you an overall of kind of some of the roads that were blocked. A lot of the roads were blocked, shut down. People's driveways were blocked. And after we got all the roadways open up, then we tried to, as best we could, to go around to all the residents and open up the driveways where they could at least get to work. Most of the damage was trees down blocking driveways, a few trees leaning against homes and stuff. But of course, for liability reasons, we didn't touch. I don't like to touch the ones against the house. Their homeowners insurance would cover that, and then I don't want to take a chance of doing more damage than what they've already got.
I won't say this. A lot of that area is in my area, my commission area, and it's also in the area that I live in. And the residents out there spoke very highly of the firefighters, and with other also emergency response personnel. But job well done.
Well, the guys did a great job, and like I say, they responded out that morning. We worked the biggest part of the morning from about, I think it hit about 6 o'clock to about 12 noon, and they went solid. And of course, we had some other fire calls during that day and VA calls I didn't put on there because it really didn't have anything to do with the storm. But I just kind of want to give you an idea of the roads that were blocked. And of course, the highway department responds to do this, but they can only do so much, and we can kind of span out and have these roads opened up a whole lot quicker than the highway department can. Now, we got over on Moreland Lane, and there was trees. I mean, the whole road was just like 30 or 40 trees, and they took a backhoe and went through and cleared it out. But we, a lot of the roads, you got just a tree down, we can cut it up and get it out of the way and put it in a ditch where they can pick it up. But anyway, they did a tremendous job that day. The next page is a letter from Chief Lawrence asking that we've been notified, and of course they had y'all on here too. I want to make sure y'all got a copy of this. It says, please take this as notice as of May 1st, 2011. We are no longer, we'll be providing rescue coverage for county. Please make other arrangements for our coverage zone. And of course, he said, if you have any questions, you feel free to call him. But I think it was just a manpower issue. It is a big demand on the volunteer fire department to man the station 24/7. They did a tremendous job. They were very adamant about training, but I just think it got to a point where it was kind of wearing these guys down. And that's all for my report.
Next time, maybe a map, not a big one, but just a map of the new rescue zone for us.
Yeah, I can have a map in there.
The difference.
And basically, the only thing that's changed, I'll bring you a map, but the only thing that's changed is we pretty much just took Kittrell all the way over to 231. Anything on 231 is Kittrell. On the west side of that, off the highway, is Amble, which that's a pretty big zone for Kittrell to come and for Amble to come, but we had to cover it.
And the other thing I was going to ask, I know in months past you've had how many times a rescue's been out of service. I guess no news is good news that they've been manning, or?
Well, we had a problem with Rescue 7 for a while, not being manned, and we had some people that had over volunteers had 300 or 400 hours that it's been the truck, and then I've got people who just won't cover it. We've got a mandatory 12 hours that we want to require them to cover. Amble has a 24-hour demand that they cover the truck 24 hours out of a month.
Well, when I was in college in the rescue squad, I did 300 to 400 hours myself on that rescue truck, so I know how hard it is to get people to come out and do it.
But we've got a system where we got it set up. If a truck goes out of service, we notify dispatch, and then dispatch notifies EMS and sort rows and that to cover that zone. So I mean, it's a volunteer organization. I think everybody does a tremendous job to be volunteer. And there's going to be times where a truck's going to be down because everybody's working. I mean, just their jobs change, their lifestyle changes, things happen, and that's just part of the process of having volunteer firefighters.
Any other questions? Hearing none, entertain a motion on the report.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. You got a budget amendment?
We had a budget amendment for gasoline. What actually happened is, I think finance made a mistake and charged some of the gasoline to the diesel bill. And she's returning that line item and then taking $1,800 out of the county's 425 gasoline and making mine a total of $7,000.
You've heard and motion, to have a second?
Second.
And a second. Discussion. Call roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Emergency Management Agency. Welcome.
Hello, all.
You want to introduce you?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I brought with me this evening Mr. Joe Gurley, who is our new coordination officer for communications. He comes from a long, diversified background in communications specialties with the Tennessee Highway Patrol and the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, and most recently Williamson County. And we're very blessed and fortunate to have him here to help us build our communications capabilities, and he will be here on a regular basis to provide you input and information on how our communications infrastructure is improving in all of our projects.
I'm very happy to be working in Rutherford County instead of Williamson County. Nothing against Williamson County. I had a great opportunity to learn, but this is home, and we've been active in this county for a long time on a volunteer basis, and I'm glad to be working full-time, hopefully in about 2 or 3 years in my career here.
We appreciate you coming on board with us. And also we appreciate you, the committee that you were on, that volunteered on to help come up with the infrastructure, the plan for our communications.
Thank you.
So you'll be seeing a lot of Mr. Gurley. Report is nothing outstanding, pretty much typical. A lot of meetings having to do with Homeland Security projects and training and things of that sort. A few minor hazardous materials events, nothing outstanding. Pretty much business as usual.
Any questions on the report?
Yeah, 518, just the muriatic acid spill, yes, it's somewhere between 840 and Almaville Road, is where that
Yes,
happened?
yes.
And how did the spill occur? I'm just curious, I know, was it?
To my knowledge, it was a pickup truck that was contracted to do work in Chattanooga. They had numerous 1-gallon containers in the bed of the truck.
Okay.
He blew a tire, lost control, rolled over twice, and lost the product.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I ask this all the time. When are we gonna close out 2008 UASI?
That's a very good question. We will be closing it out with any luck within the next week. We have to close the POs out by mid next month. We're working very diligently to try to close out projects. We've had some monies that were moved because of time restraints with the communications tower. I'm sure a lot of you heard about that. We had a shortfall in time due to the time restrictions that it took for FEMA to approve the tower project. There was not enough time to be able to complete that project before the end of the contract. So the monies were recently moved to 2010 and put into the budget for the 2010 grant. And then monies from the 2010 grant that took that place were moved to 2008 into the communications realm, and we're working to satisfy that budget.
Deal.
Well, you've got, he says we're working on the 3 flood mitigation projects. How are those going?
They're going fine. I've got a few issues to work out with TEMA, and then some paperwork to complete. We should complete those in time, and then it's a matter of waiting for the application approval, whether or not they'll go forward.
Okay, when was that estimated time on that?
I think it's in the next month that they have to be closed out for the application due process,
Okay.
and then we have to wait for their approval from FEMA, whether or not they'll be approved or not.
Any other questions on the report?
Did I just read that the Homeland Security grants are going to be cut back dramatically?
Dramatically is an understatement, sir. Yes, it has dropped to $5 million inclusive for the entire state. UIC is included, and that includes SHSP, law enforcement, all the conglomerates that are combined together that typically outreach from the outlying grant. So it's $5 million total for the state inclusively, and it's drastically going to reduce our capabilities and our planning. It's also going to put some time restraints on us because according to what I've heard, when the grant is handed down, we'll only have about 6 days to complete the application process and turn in what we need, but we're not expecting much this year.
Mayor?
Tim, you might want to report to them, there will not be a UASI in the state of Tennessee.
Yes.
The federal government has shrunk down the number of UASIs to just a small number. It's just the major metropolitan areas. So the Nashville metropolitan UASI, which we're in, will not exist. There will be no dollars. We'll go back to District 5, and all of the districts in Tennessee will have $5 million. So it's not going to be any money, period, that we're going to have access to.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation at this point as to what's going to happen logistically and planning wise for our previous concerns for the UASI versus what will happen if we get reabsorbed back into District 5. That's not to say that what we have in place isn't already going to be inclusive in mutual aid response, because it will. They call for it, we'll send it, and vice versa. But I don't know what our planning concerns and mechanisms will be from what we've put together for so many years in the UASI.
So all those submittals that people have gotten together and worked together and submitted, they're not going to be funded?
Well, the money that we've already had funded for 2009, 10, whatever, that money's still there. We're going to spend whatever's been appropriated and approved.
Correct.
But there won't be any new money.
Yeah, all the way up to 2010, our monies are dedicated and will be spent towards that specific projects. 2011 is what the question is, and how it will be spent and what allocations will be available.
Okay.
And we'll let you know as soon as that information is released.
Have we got a motion on the report? Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I've got a question, but it's not related to the report.
Okay.
You want to wait on it?
Well, I was going to ask one more thing. I guess Mr. Gurley now is on board to help us out with the grant we got with the fire department on the communications, which was part of that whole program that should be this year, I believe, the regional grant you got, which was.
He said no.
Okay, good deal. I'm glad we have
Yeah,
somebody, we hired somebody that knows what they're doing in communications. I think that's awesome.
We'll be putting together a comprehensive RFP probably sometime in the July timeframe, which will include that funding plus other county funding.
Good deal.
All right, is there,
Motion to approve them.
got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. You got a question?
Well, since we've got Mr. Gurley here, and possibly you can answer this question, if not. I had a call from a constituent that they had gotten a call from out of county that there was a person that was working on their property. Son had called, his wife had evidently passed out in their home. It's a young child call. And a 911 call was then made here locally. And for some reason, there was a problem connecting to the 911 in Warren County. And I was just wondering, what's the normal procedure for our 911 calls when they come through? Should they be routed back to the county where the emergencies actually occur? And I know on the interstate, sometimes if you call 911, you're not really sure who you're going to get. And I'm just wondering what's in place in the state, and I'm talking about the whole state, not just here in Rutherford County, as far as how 911 calls are dispatched or traded from one jurisdiction to another.
That varies considerably. I'm not a 911 expert, but having spent 12 years in the cellular industry, yes, a lot of times the cell site doesn't know where the county boundaries are or the municipal boundaries, so it will go to the possibly a different PSAP. That PSAP should transfer that call to the appropriate PSAP. We had an incident in Williamson County that made the papers and the news here a couple of months ago. There's no way you can avoid the routing because you have to decide where it's going to go. It can only go to one place. As far as calls from a jurisdiction like Rutherford to someplace as far 2 counties away like Warren, that would pretty much be a telco contact or a TCIC contact of some kind of messaging between the 2 PSAPs to let them know that there's an issue there.
You're using a lot of acronyms that I don't know.
It would go through.
Speak English.
It would go through the crime information computer, the TBI's data system, which they can send messages through, or it could just be a phone call from Rutherford County. If it came into Rutherford County, if it came into Murfreesboro, it would just be a phone call from them to Warren County SO, most likely. I mean, there's no direct key transfer. There is within the county, but not from county to county. Now
that's what I was wondering.
With NextGen, which Mr. Smith can brief you much more on. Like I said, I'm not a 911 expert, but a lot of that will take us statewide into a more statewide system and so on when we get to there, not too many years from now, but we're not there yet.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot on
Rutherford
that.
County dispatchers have advised people who use Vonage, a lot of times they get calls to Rutherford County out of other counties because those telephone providers.
Right. Things like Skype and Vonage and so on are difficult a lot of times unless the individual registers their information.
Thank you.
On another note, real quickly, I wanted to say that I appreciate your thoughts and prayers for Mr. Allen. And unfortunately, the only time I get to see most of y'all is when he's sick and I have to take his place up here. But I have a positive report from the hospital. He seems to be doing very well, and they've got a positive outlook for him. I do not know the expectancy. They've said 6 months for his return, but I don't know. You know, Roger, he may be back next week. Who knows? But we appreciate it.
Maybe next month or 2 months.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Drug court report.
Look, I don't know how to do one short. Nope, nope, I'm not good. Hi,
How you doing?
good, how are you?
Can your
Doing
computer
good.
type any smaller?
If it's gonna fit on the page, yeah. No, I mean, now, that's the first time you've said anything
know,
about
I
that.
had
I've
my
been doing it
glasses
the
on that
same.
time when I looked at it.
Anyway, there's really nothing to report. Same old, pretty much.
Anybody, any questions?
I guess I could tell you about, we got 10 referrals already for our new LIOP. That's just in one day. So that's.
Better be ready by July the 1st.
Yeah, I think we are. Well, we had our CPR training, the, Randy White and Steve Hart did that, and that was a lot of fun. They made it, 8 hours of CPR training can be pretty boring. But with those two, it was a lot of fun. It really was. So anyway, we've got that done, and we're just working on paperwork and procedures and everything, but I think, we've got all our brochures published or printed and over at the courthouse and everything. So we're just waiting for the phone calls at this point.
I got a quick question, if I may.
Sure.
On the drug court, on the drug of choice, I've noticed there's not a lot of methamphetamines. Is that because there's not a big problem here, or they're just not participating?
It's really not a big problem here. In fact, we talked about that during the CPR training. You know, you might be seeing a little bit more of it because of the mobile labs that they have now in the back seats of or in the trunks of the cars. But we have never seen it like the drug court coordinator over in Warren County. That's all they have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible, just terrible. And it's just never been a big issue for us. We have had a lot of, not a lot, but I would say maybe 10 or 20 over 10 years, referrals from Cannon County on people that have been caught making it, and the district attorney won't let us take those, and I'm not sure we really want to take those people anyway, because it's like it's being a drug dealer. So
Right.
We've agreed not to take drug dealers if we can help it. So, so that's yeah, we just don't get much. And like we were talking with the Randy and Steve, I mean, they're having problems with these synthetic drugs too, like I was telling y'all about, I think, last time. The vampire's blood and Molly's plant food and all that stuff. And we've been sharing a lot of information between the two of us, just trying to stay abreast of what's going on out there and what's available. So anyway. So we've developed a good relationship with them, I think, that's helpful to each of us.
What is Molly's under on this one?
Well, that's a good question. It's not. And so far, it hasn't been anybody's primary drug of choice. These are primary drugs of choice. In other words, it's their first choice. Now, they may admit to using 10 drugs, but this just calculates their first choice. So.
Any more questions? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried.
Okay, thank you very much.
Juvenile detention report. And it's on the desk.
Yes, it is. Good evening.
How you doing today?
Good. You have in front of you the monthly report for April, and as usual, we don't have anything particularly troublesome. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Probably the only thing that's a little different is we have several counties that we're waiting to get our April billing from, but I don't suspect that's going to be an issue.
Any questions?
That's just April it's owed?
Yes, that's correct.
Out of your population, say of April, you had 35. average of 31. How many of those are Rutherford County residents versus out-of-county people?
Well, we've got, in April, we booked in 101 Rutherford County kids, and we booked in 37 out-of-county kids, so.
Okay.
Anybody else? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, do I have a second? Got a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Becky, I just want you to know you're gonna be greatly missed.
Yes.
And you talked very fast.
Sheriff Department report.
Good evening, everybody.
How you doing?
Doing good. All right. There's that one thing. Last time this year, then I will leave you guys alone. Okay.
Promise.
I know. Heard that one, haven't you? As long as you don't send me back to another committee, it should be okay. All right, we're going to need to move, this was, last month we did 5,000 as a quick emergency thing during the budget committee meeting to take care of overtime at the jail. And then I went back and calculated everything, and this should clear us up for the rest of the year. So this is the last amendment that I'll do to, and a lot of it's been the comp time buybacks. That's probably about 65–70% of my overtime has been the comp time buybacks. So, yeah, really, don't we all? And so anyway, so that's we're wanting to move the money. The $399 out of the other contracted services is where we're getting medical reimbursement back from the state of Tennessee. So there's money in that fund there. So we're going to pull it from there and put it into the overtime and all the related benefits that go with that. So that's the first one. The second page is where the state of Tennessee bought property in front of our facility because they're going to eventually widen it to 5 lanes. So you guys know all about that. Then we had the county come in and pave our access road that was over here on the south side of the facility down to Malloy, because once they start that construction, we're going to then ingress and egress out of the side there to Malloy to that red light. So that was for the, that's to pay, and that's what the $12,000 is for. And they're going to recognize those funds. Page number 3. Okay. When we got all the materials donated from the hospital, we had storage for that, and we just need another $100 to move into the rentals account to wrap that up for this budget year, and that'll take care of all that. We've got a lot of computers that we've got stored over there, and this extra $100 will take care of that. And then we're running short on food money, so we're moving from the medical reimbursement account I talked about a minute ago. We're going to move $15,000 out of there into food. And we've done pretty good on the food budget so far, but we're going to go ahead and put that funds in there for now. Our numbers are up. We're actually up at 750 right now. So our numbers have been kind of climbing here lately. We had $1,000 in contributions come in from where the Explorers worked the Nashville Speedway. And so we're going to recognize that money and then put that back into their line item that they use. And then we're wanting to move $20,000 out of the maintenance and repair of vehicles and move 15 of it into uniforms, and then 5,000 into vehicle parts. And that's what I have for tonight.
Any questions on the request?
You gave some money back from this, when the state sent some in, huh?
Yeah.
It's got it on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Motion and a second. Art discussion.
Maintenance and repair of vehicles. Yes, sir. That 5,000, so that's just an entirely different line item for parts.
Actually, what they do is they break that down into, when he purchases those services, he makes them break out the labor and then the parts, and he keeps those separate, so there's actually 2 line items for that.
Okay.
And so he's just moving it from one to the other. And they've done pretty good on the labor costs this year, and so he's actually got a few extra dollars left in that, whereas his vehicle parts account's starting to run a little low.
Any more questions? Hearing and seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young? Commissioner Farley?
Of course, then I've also given you the accounting balances that are left. We're actually doing pretty good on a lot of the items. I didn't know if anybody has any questions on those.
The 54110 contracts with private agency, that's the medical account with Dr. Rudd, is that correct?
54110. No, it'll be 54210. Let me get down to it here. 54210-399, I believe. Yeah. That's the $3 million.
So the 54110, the contract with other agencies, what is that?
The 312?
312, yes.
Let's see. That is, yeah, I really don't know. I don't have my notes in front of me, so it'd be probably maintenance and copier agreements and stuff like that.
Typically, it's routine maintenance agreements with
Mhm.
small equipment, etc.
Any other questions on that? If there's no questions on the report, I'll entertain a motion on this report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. Anything else?
Question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I got a question for one of them, because I saw where our General Assembly came through to what, 750,000 was it on, for meth cleanup? Is that $1,000? Is there, y'all have any knowledge how that'll get broken down? Is it just gonna be as it happens?
Usually that's the way that'll go down, is that as those cleanups are required, then they'll just pull the funds from that account to pay per occurrence. And if we can, believe me, if we can avoid using those funds until the very last minute, because they may run out of money at the end of the year or halfway through the year and say, well, we're done, it's all yours, and we'll have to take over from there, so.
Well, I know in your budget this year, you put in
Yes, sir.
25,000, I think.
Yeah.
Now, will we go to the state first before we use ours? Is
Well,
that
the
the
state
general
will probably do all the cleanup first before we will access those funds at all.
Okay.
Yeah, because pretty much they'll handle that, and then we won't, until they say, well, that fund is out of money, and then it's up to the counties from that point forward, then we won't have to, luckily, we won't have to fool it until then.
Okay, and hopefully we won't have any.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah,
Maybe
okay.
maybe the public will, not have a lot of meth work going on, so we'll see. We do have a grant we want to talk about tonight, or at least present. Our grant application, we put it that way. Something we'd like to apply for. I've got a couple extras.
The federal government has, again, begun their new series of grants. They all came out probably within about a week of each other. All law enforcement agencies have received generally the same information in regards to these grants. The one that we're here to talk about tonight is the COPS hiring program. We've tried for this the last 2 years. We've not made the final qualifying round. This year there were some more constraints put on these grants. Every year it seems they add a little bit more to it. Basically, we're allowed to hire 5% of our sworn force. Currently, I believe we have, as best estimate, 208 certified officers, which would give us a ratio of, we can ask for a total number of 10 employees. That would be funded 100%, entry-level salaries and benefits for 36 months, a 3-year period. At that point, after the 3-year period, then we would have to assume them for a full year in that 4th year. After that, also in addition to that, I should say, if we hire anybody above
the entry-level salary, and this has been the rule for years, that if we have someone who has 3 or 4 year prior experience, if we choose to hire that person, if we choose to give them the experience, then the county will have to pay the above and beyond the entry-level position. What I've given you tonight is a sheet that I've worked with Ms. Nolan on, and I've worked with Shirley Elrod, and we've looked over all the figures. We've kind of broken it down into officers and officers with family life insurance. We also broke down the non-reoccurring cost, which are going to have your basic equipment, your academy, the patrol cars and the in-car cameras, so you can see those figures. Why we're here tonight is we'd like to go ahead and apply for this. The government has gone to what they call a dual strategy now. Round one, you fill in your application. If you're approved to go ahead and apply, then they will send you notice back and you can go to round two. If you're done with round two, then you have to wait several months to find out if you're actually going to get this grant or not. The thing that they're actually looking at is rehiring officers who have been laid off, officers scheduled to be laid off at a future time, local budget cuts. There is no match required on this grant. It's 100% for 3 years paid for as far as the personnel. Like I said, and the only requirement mandated under this particular award would be the end of the third year going into the fourth. We would have to have them for that 1 year.
That's a little different than years past, because they used to be 100%, then 75, then 50.
You had transitional grant, yes, sir, that's correct. But also, along with that, also they, like I said, with this two-tier system, they also award a lot of preference points, and the thing that always seems to hurt us towards the end when we get through the first part, not that we don't need the officers and they recognize that, it's when they start looking at budgets. And when you have counties and cities that are operating in the red right now, and the need, and that's what has killed us every time.
And what's the grant amount?
What we're going to apply for, we can only apply for the salary benefits, so that we've agreed that the $463,768.14 seems to be a reasonable amount with or without the family insurance. I've talked to Chief Russell about that, and I've talked to Ms. Nolan about that. The reason why we gave you the two different options was in case somebody did do that, we wanted you to see the difference in the two, so that way y'all were aware of that.
Does this only pay for 1 year of their salary? I'm unfamiliar.
3 years.
3 years,
3
okay,
years.
same as the firefighter grant.
Correct.
Safer grant.
3 years.
Total.
And like I said, you know, we've diligently tried this the last 2 years, and we've gotten shot down. It's not that we don't need the people, it's not that we don't qualify, it's just that they keep saying our county seems to be a whole lot better off than a lot of other places.
Will you be able to move employees from the SO that are non-certified into these positions to become certified? Can you?
Yes, you can, but those positions have to be backfilled. You cannot supplant on this grant like as with any other grant.
Yeah.
So if you have someone who, for instance, is a detention officer who's not certified and would like to go to the road and has passed the qualifications set up by Sheriff Arnold, and they choose to let him try that, then yes, we can put that person in that position and go, we can fill that spot.
Mayor, do you have a?
Just a point of clarification, I believe you did say this, the grant would only pay for the salaries.
Correct.
The one-time equipment cost, et cetera, would be our responsibility the
Yes,
first
sir.
year.
Yes, sir. And we broke that out as a total non-reoccurring of $452,000. Yes, sir.
And after 3 years, you said it stops.
And then we must,
Keep
if
them
we,
for a year.
for a year.
We must keep them for a year.
Yes, sir.
100%.
100% for 1 year after that. And I would also like to say, and the mayor's very aware of this, you know, the academy doesn't get everybody in, you know, right when they start. So you can see they are supposed to be within a year within the hire date, but sometimes due to academy schedules and other things, you know, the basic equipment certainly, the cars, you know, I'm not sure how that would work, or the in-car cameras since they're a unit together. But, you know, sometimes some of these things get delayed, is what I'm saying. Sometimes they're not all within the 1 year. Sometimes they're pushed into another budget cycle. So, and we're seeking permission to apply tonight.
All right, is there any more questions on the request?
Can you get any, could you get approved for anywhere between 1 and 10, or will it be 10 or 0?
Depending on the amount of applications that will close this Wednesday on the 25th,
the last time it happened, there was such an overload that that's where need became the issue. Almost every agency out there, now the one other constraint that did come in this year, if you have an agency of less than 20, they capped that at one officer. There were some agencies out there that were really trying to pad their department, but they have capped that now. So with these new formulations, it does enhance our chances a little bit, but they could come back and very likely say, well, you've asked for 10, you've shown your budget, however, you may only get 5, and that could happen. We won't know that till the final award document's presented.
And I've dealt with this on the firefighter side with Commissioner Farley. We've worked on a couple of SAFER grants before. Will we be more competitive asking for less or more? Or I know that is because there's standards in place for so many firefighters.
Correct.
For population and response. Is the same thing there with the police or law enforcement side?
They're going to ask us to prove our case. I say shoot for 10, and if you get the 5, you get the 5, but shoot for the moon in this case. If they come back and say we can't give you 10 because we have other agency demands. The other thing that concerns me is they only put $200 million in the fund. There's only $200 million sitting out there for this grant, and out of everything that is for the number of requests they're going to get by Wednesday, I could easily see them. Last time they topped, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of almost $900 million worth of requests last year. So you've got people fighting tooth and nail. So
I'll make a motion to approve them applying for the grant.
We got a motion to approve applying. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And there's a second. Our discussion.
I want to make sure that everybody remembers a month or two ago when we had, I'm all for going out and getting grants, but we just had that budget go through, when we had the discussion and the issue with funding the domestic violence officers. And if we approve this in 4 years, we are saying that we are going to increase the SO budget by anywhere from $463,000 to $497,000 in 1 year.
Well, the reason why I made the motion is 4 years from now, our growth, the projected growth, will surpass this. So if we don't apply now, we're going to eventually have to add these positions anyways
Pay for the whole
to
thing.
keep up with the growth of the county. So the way I look at it is 4 years free, or 3 years free money. In the 4th year, we have to incur that cost. But the growth of Rutherford County in that time will offset that cost. And we'll probably still have to add more officers. That's why I made the motion. And like I said, I've seen this from the firefighter side, so I understand why you do this, and you have to keep the officers on the street, to meet the demands of the population and whatnot for the growth. So that's kind of where and I agree with you. I understand some of these other grant positions, specialty positions. I look at them real hard, but your basic boots on the ground people, you got to have those. Those are the people we have to have.
If and only if we have that much county in 3 or 4 years. You got city municipalities that are incorporated. You got to look at that too.
Till the economy goes up, I don't think you're going to see much more annexing. I don't know. But the other thing, in this is, if this gets approved, it won't start taking effect for us until after January, though. Well, it's going to take that length of time before things start.
It's going to be probably a year before we really know.
I would say that at the rate the government will move on this, that when they close it on Wednesday, when it's closed and done, then they'll proceed through the rounds. The earliest they've ever made an announcement on similar grants for the last 2 years, the earliest one was the end of September, 1st of October of this year. And so by then, you also still have to go through your hiring pool. You're going to have to pull those. You're going to have to do those interviews. You're going to have to do those PT tests. So, it could be November or December before we actually start seeing the crop of who's actually going to be, if someone is from the jail or if someone's from outside who has a lot of experience that they could bring to the table.
And the $200 million will be spent statewide somewhere. Might as well get your tax dollars back here in this county.
We will have to fund this one-time startup cost in the next fiscal year budget, which we don't have budgeted. So we just have to be prepared for that 500,000.
So if we get the 10, and you said the last 2 times we applied, we didn't get it?
That's correct.
But if we get the 10, then we have to hire the 10
Yes.
In other words, say that we get the 10 and
You only
we don't
need
have the
5.
reoccurring, we only need 5.
Yes. You're gonna sign a contract. It's always contracted out, and there's gonna be, it's usually, the mayor and I usually get like a 20-page thing of things to read we have to do. And we can ask them we can go back and ask to have a reduction, and I'm sure they're not gonna say no. So if we get 10 and all of a sudden it comes back to this committee and you only wanna do 5, then the mayor and I will, we'll file the appropriate paperwork.
If push comes to shove, and it's, say we know something in 6 months, 7 months.
Correct.
On the patrol units, is there enough units out there that a person could utilize?
I would have to pass that to Mr. Russell, I don't know.
You know, and hold off 6 months and have to buy cars.
Oh, as far as purchasing on the market?
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be enough.
I'm just saying, if push comes to shove and we do, you know, to save on that.
Right.
From having to do it in the next budget year.
Well, they'll be in a training period, and you won't just be putting them in their own car until they go through the academy and all of that stuff, so it.
Well, the academy's 10 weeks, and then you got, like y'all got a 10 or 12 week training period yourself?
14 weeks to sign off on the FTO program and patrol.
So there's gonna be a.
There will be, it'll be staggered.
There's a hiring time, and it's a long,
It's not gonna
drawn-out
happen
process, yeah.
Overnight.
And if the economy doesn't improve in the next 4 years, you're gonna get some vacancies in the department because just people leaving, retiring, or whatever down there.
But we would have to fill those vacancies.
You have to fill your vacancies.
Your vacancies have to be filled.
You have to backfill.
You have to maintain at least the number that you had to start with. Now, if you choose to exceed it, you can.
Something you have to remember too is with the downturn in the economy, population doesn't leave. People drink more crimes are committed. I mean, it's common sense. So
we've noticed.
I mean, with the downturn in the economy, you have more crime. You got to keep the officers on the street. We got to find a way to do it. Keep everybody safe.
Plus, we're still growing.
Is this just for patrol?
Yes, sir.
Officer? So like if we need a warrant officer, we couldn't do that?
No, sir.
That increases how many per shift? Like
Well, they'll give you 2 shifts, but I would leave that up to the sheriff to meet with, the chiefs and Commander O'Gwen and Captain Haley to determine where the need is on patrol.
As far as staffing, Chief, you maybe have to answer this. As far as staffing in the zones and per shift, what's staffing wise as far as deputies in zones?
Average is about 7, 8 to 9.
A shift? How many zones do we have?
9 zones.
9 zones, so we roughly a lot of times have 1 deputy in a zone per shift.
Correct.
And on most days, there's 1 zone.
Mayor, having gone through the budget process up to now, and of course this 452,000 is not budgeted. Are we looking at a tax increase if we?
We are really using up our capital, which was in that development tax fund. We do have more than $450,000. I think we've got $1.5 million or $2 million. We could manage this, but it's going to keep that revenue is not coming in anymore. So we're not having any money to spend on capital things like this, like we did.
Well,
we could manage that much money at one time. We'll just push that reserve on down a little bit more.
And we don't know what else will be coming towards us. I personally don't mind voting to approve you applying for the grant.
Okay.
But when it comes down to how many people we're looking at, I mean, I know what we looked at in budget this year as far as officers that were increased, and I think it was 2 total, wasn't it, out of the Sheriff's Department. You know, I agree that yes, our county's going to continue to grow. However, the growth rate is not what it has been in the past. Now, as far as needing 10 officers and funding another $1 million to the Sheriff's Department, I'm not ready to take that bite right yet. But if I see the need for it, yes, but like I said, I don't mind voting to let this grant be applied for, because that's money that we definitely could use if we ended up in a case where we need these officers. But I'm gonna have to see, you know, the need put out here before I'm willing to jump on 10 new officers.
That's why I brought up a while ago about prolonging the purchasing of vehicles and things like that. I mean, that could be put off,
2012, 13.
right.
And as we've done in the past, anytime that, if we do get to a point where we're at a contractual stage, we always come back to the mayor, and then we come back to this committee and say, here's what we have. You know, at that point, you always have the option to opt out.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
One other thing I do want to mention, since I heard it wasn't said in the past, which Commissioner McAdoo and I know that it has been said, so you can write it down in red ink here. These positions, if they are hired, may not be permanent after that 4th year.
But I think we all know that it would be funded, because, I mean, we just funded domestic violence positions.
Well,
I mean, we're not saying that, of course, but who's gonna say, well, you've been with us for 4 years, but we're not gonna fund you this year?
I may be one of them. So.
Okay.
And that certainly is at the end of the contractual period. That's something that have to be discussed at committee, you know, what y'all would want to do.
With and the mayor might have to answer this question, one of the guys on budget, with the money we approve for this grant in the budget, if the sheriff's department gets a letter of denial saying they're you know, we're sorry, you were too good of whatever, then that's not money spent anyway, so it would go back, or it's because it's allocated for something that we're not getting or receiving, so it could go back into the.
We don't have to approve any amendments to our budget yet.
Until we get it.
Not till you have the contract.
We do nothing about that one-time capital expenditures until later.
That's right.
Okay, we'll make sure I'm clear on that anyway.
All right, is there any other questions on the motion on the floor?
I do. Just go to budget.
Yes.
Then that would be between the mayors to work out whose contract it is.
All right, if there's no other comments, questions on a motion on the floor, we'll call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Pease?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
No.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. That it? Thank you.
We go for it, and what negative votes the person in the county that doesn't.
I don't know
I take about
You're welcome. Thank you. Your time tonight, Jim.
Next thing up.
Might help, yeah.
Next thing on the agenda tonight is the discuss moving the June the 27th meeting. They had on here possibly the 21st of June. You know, the 27th meeting is the day meeting that we'll have on the county commission. That was normally our public safety committee. Is there any other day besides the 21st in there that we could, I'm gonna be out of town.
You didn't ask Vicki?
No,
I don't have any meetings on my calendar
you don't.
for June.
Is it necessary to have a meeting at all before the?
Well, we may need to have something come up, unless y'all wanted to, just send it, if something come up, just send it on to the full county commission. You know, we can do that.
Of course, this meeting here is the information that would go to the normal June commission meetings.
Right.
When's the commission?
Yeah, but anything after that would go on the 27th. Because there won't be another commission meeting till August,
So we could,
after June 27th.
so in July, we could hear their June report and July
Yes,
report.
we'll have a meeting at the
Still
end
be all right.
of July.
Yeah,
I mean, we could just postpone
That's what-
that meeting.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Is that all right with the committee?
It makes sense to me, is because the budget will be renewed and we won't have to worry about budget amendments or anything like that.
And if something comes up,
Yeah, emergency situation.
I can go
you
in.
always call a meeting.
I'll either call a meeting, or if it's something that's gonna be simple, just send it on to the full, meeting on the 27th and let the full county commission handle it.
Yeah.
You know, so, with that being said, and that's what we'll go ahead and do if there's no objection. Okay,
Just canceling our June meeting.
yes.
Okay.
We'll save the taxpayers some money.
There you go.
All right. All right. Is there any other business come before the committee? Hearing or seeing none? Well,
Goodbye.
before we go, goodbye.
Wait a minute.
I have Tuesday and Thursday, but this is last.
This is last public safety.
Ready to say it.
All right, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all.